a hand. You just go back and back. Okay. And she will be supported by her colleague regulators. I have here Padaru Duki from Mauritius. Thank you. And then Mohammed El Kamlichi from Morocco. Okay, so we set the ball rolling with Tiki.
What I will be trying to do, because I have very limited time, I will essentially be speaking about the rights that individuals have and some of the powers that we have as a commission. In looking at the rights, my essential focus is on how, as entities and data controllers, we can incorporate some of these rights in giving or providing services to our clients or customer base. Okay. So what is data protection? I believe now we all know what data protection is, so I don't have to go into a lot of detail about it, but essentially data protection can mean proper information management practices. It can also mean the legal protection of personal information, which is our focus, and it is the relationship between the dissemination of our information, technology, public expectation of privacy, and the legal and political issues surrounding that. This afternoon, you will hear me use keywords like the data controller. When I use that, it essentially means anybody who's collecting personal information, determining how that information should be used, and having full control over the information, the personal information that they collect. You also hear me say data processor. If I say a data processor, I essentially mean someone, it could be an individual who is processing the personal information on behalf of the data controller. When I use the word data subject, I essentially mean any individual who's the subject matter of the data that is being handled by a controller or processor. Processing under the law means anything that you can do with information, from looking at it, from dancing with it, from essentially anything. Deleting the information is processing. So anytime you hear me say processing of personal data, think about anything at all that you can do with the data. And I will also be using words like personal data. Personal data essentially means any information about you and I, or from which you and I can be identified. I'll also use words like special personal data or sensitive data, which is a type of personal data that relates to very sensitive information about an individual, like health records, like medical records, and so on. The Act, as you all know, was passed in 2012. Because I have a limited time, I'll skip over that, but from 2012 to date, I believe we've spoken a lot about the Act. It essentially puts out the principles that should govern how we regulate and collect and use personal information. We have a governing body which is provided for under the Act. It sets out the 8 principles that we will be talking about tomorrow, and we also have the right to set up the data protection register. And on this note, I wish to know that those who are not yet registered, the Secretariat can actually help you with the registration as a data controller if you need to do that. The Act also provides for some exemptions to all of these laws, and we will look at it in the course of this week before we end this conference. What is the purpose of this law? The purpose is to balance the individual's right to privacy against our need to use such information. The Act brings or provides rules on processing, and I've already explained what processing is. So it provides rules that must be followed when we are processing personal information. The Act empowers individuals by defining the rights of the data subjects. The Act also prescribes sanctions for non-compliance. What are some of these rights of individuals? This is a very important right, and so I will dwell a lot on this and mention the others. Access to personal information. Every individual has the right to access their personal information. How can they access this? How can they bring to being this right? You can do that by informing the data subject of the nature of processing. Earlier on, I believe Hema was talking about privacy by design and talking about involving the data subject. Access to personal information is all about involving the data subject. Let them know who is actually doing the processing, whether or not the data controller or a third party is processing the data. Define the data that you are holding on them. So let them know what kind of information you are collecting about them. You also need to determine or tell them the purpose for which the data is being processed. So you can't just collect because they have the right to know. And this access right gives them the right to ask you some of these questions as a data controller. Who or whom the data may be disclosed or shared with. Communication with the data subject must also be clear and easy to understand. A lot of the time, a lot of us as organizations fail to do that. Even as a lawyer, I find it difficult to still appreciate some of the privacy policies, that I have read before. And you wonder who it was written for. We're writing these privacy policies for the individual to appreciate how you are using their information. They have that right to know. And so it's very important that such policies must be clear and easy to understand. Inform the individual of the reason behind any decision that was made using their information, where the processing constitutes the sole basis for taking a decision which significantly affects that individual, except where such information involves a trade secret. Ladies and gentlemen, these are all things that have been set out under the Data Protection Act. So I'm not just talking about anything. These are the legal obligations that we are mandated by law to comply with, to give access to the individual. The condition for access, however, is not absolute. The data controller must be given reasonable reason why that data is needed. The person making the request must identify themselves. You must enable him or her find the information that that person requires. So you have to tell the data controller, if you're a data subject and you're asking for information, there's a condition that you must meet. You must identify yourself to enable the data controller also give you the access that you need. It's important to also note that access can be refused. Compliance with the request, and access can be refused if compliance with the request may compromise another data subject's information. So a data controller can at any time inform a data subject that, I'm sorry, I cannot give you this information because I may also be disclosing the information of SIGI in the process of doing that. Exception may, however, be given when the third party involved in this case has given their consent to the disclosure of their information. If it is reasonable, and this morning we were questioned about what is reasonable, but if it is reasonable in all the circumstances to comply with the request, without necessarily the consent of another individual. In this case, you probably may be able to take out the individual components of that information that is being sought after. You can do that. It's important to note that a data controller cannot necessarily rely on the above exception to refuse access to information being sought if it can be communicated without the disclosure of the identity of a third party concerned. If information is being processed for the purpose of investigation or otherwise, it can also be refused. This slide. Yes. Access to information that will also impair security cannot be granted. Access to information that may harm international relationships may also not be granted. Information that is kept for the purpose of statistics and research may also not be granted. The reason is that for such information, the legal requirement is to have the information anonymized as soon as it is collected. So it may be very difficult for the statistician to probably re-identify such information. Also, information kept for archival purposes may not be disclosed. Under our laws, a data controller must comply with the request for access promptly, and in any event, not later than, it must be done within 40 days from the date of receipt of the request. A data subject, a data subject also has the right to amend their personal information. The data subject may request a data controller to correct, delete any personal data about them that is inaccurate, irrelevant, excessive, out of date, incomplete, misleading, or that was obtained unlawfully. They can also request the data controller to destroy, delete a record of personal data about them being held by the data controller that the data controller no longer has authorization to retain. And the data controller must comply with the request or provide the data subject with credible evidence in support of why they cannot comply with their request. Where a data controller and the data subject are unable to reach an agreement, and if the data subject makes a request, the data controller shall attach the record of an indication that the request from that data subject could not have been met as a result of whatever specific reasons they may have. Where the data controller complies with the request, the data controller must inform each person to whom the personal data has been disclosed to, in the case of correction, for them to also correct it. So if you share the information with other third parties, and I come to you and I say that I don't want you to keep my information, and you have to delete it. If you share it with the third party, then you need to notify that third party to equally delete that information. There are several other rights that individuals have, and these are rights that they're going to enforce against data controllers. These are rights that they're going to enforce against them. That's why we're taking the pains to go through them, so that when you are there and they start asking you these questions, you are ready for them. They have the right to prevent the processing of their personal information. They have the freedom to tell you that don't only use automated means to process my information. And this morning, Michael informed us about a situation where human intervention saved a life. And this is the reason why you have rights such as these. Individuals also have rights in relation to exempt their manual data. They have the right to seek compensation in the courts if they feel that these rights have been breached, and they have the right to complain to the Data Protection Commission. these are some things I've prepared. I call it a checklist, so that organizations may essentially know what exactly we are doing or what we need to have in place to enable us meet these needs of the individuals whose information we are holding. Do you have a process in place to deal with data subject access requests? That is, would you be able to identify, locate, supply a copy of all of an individual's personal data if you were asked for it? Have you considered whether your processing of an individual's personal data is likely to cause them damage or distress? If an individual asks you to stop marketing to them, would you be able to easily comply with the request? Does your business make any automated decisions? If so, is there a process in place to make manual decisions if an individual requests that you do so? Example, referral or appeal processes. Do you have a procedure in place to handle compensation requests, for example, as part of your complaints procedures? If you answered no to any of these questions, then you have to go back to the drawing board and put in place adequate policy to ensure that you are in compliance with our laws. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commission has powers to stop further processing of personal data if the Commission has reasonable grounds to believe that further processing is going to cause harm to an individual. We can conduct assessments and audits to ensure compliance. We're supposed to investigate complaints under the Act and determine in a manner that is fair. We are also supposed to enforce compliance under the laws. We are to promote implementation of good codes of practice. We have the power to refuse to register if you have not met the legal requirements. We have the power to provide guidelines and implement good code of practices to ensure compliance. We also have the power to implement and monitor the provisions under the law. And we are to make sure that data controllers and processors meet the security requirements under the Data Protection Act. As a commission, we also make sure that we comply with other international data privacy standards in order to ensure that we're able to adequately protect personal information. Thank you. I hope I'm within time.
Thank you, Teddy, for that presentation. You know, it's not easy making sense out of the data protection act. It's not really easy making sense out of the Data Protection Act. You look at the rights, then you look at the principles that the Data Protection Act brings about. That's the only way you'll be able to apply them, whether as a data controller, processor, or even as a data subject, asserting your rights under the law. From her presentation, you could realize that she was talking about accountability, lawfulness of processing. She was also dealing with issues like specification of purpose, further compatibility with further processing of the data that has been collected. She mentioned in another way, quality of information, the openness of that information, the data subject participation, and safeguards. So it is not that easy, but you can make sense out of it anyway. That's exactly what you see. Can you give it a hand again? So we'll take some input from our visitors, right? Okay, so I'll start with one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I will say a word about the Moroccan experience. First of all, data protection rely both on data protection authorities and individuals. In Morocco, the CNDP, that is the Data Protection Authority, first focused its efforts on raising awareness of people of their rights. In 2011, we received one complaint, only one. But last year, 2015, we got 400 complaints. So that means that individuals in Morocco are more and more aware of their rights. However, the Data Protection Authority has another mean to enforce law and to impose individual rights. That is investigations. The Moroccan Authority launched investigations in 2014. So it's new. We deal in fact with two kinds of investigations. Website investigations, that means we check that websites in Morocco comply with data protection rules, and we deal also with on-site investigations. I should say that last year we sent for the first time a case to justice. That means that the Moroccan authority, when finds a serious infringement to law, it's willing to go to justice. One more important thing I would like to stress. It's important to strengthen cooperation between African authorities. And I think that this conference is a good example. Last year, we received in a delegation from Burkina Faso. So they stayed 10 days in Rabat for training on investigations and complaints processing. We also received the new Data Protection Authority of Mali. They came to discover the Moroccan experience. Finally, I would like to remind that Morocco is hosting the next international conference of data protection authorities in Marrakesh in next October. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohamed. Pardon.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for providing me this opportunity to talk about data protection, especially Mauritius, how it happens. Since 5 years, I have been working as investigator. It was, in fact, a pleasure for me to investigate the first complaint in Mauritius regarding data protection. And now, for the time being, we have already more than 82 complaints. We have already registered more than 11,000 data controllers, and decisions have already been given for around 22 cases. And these are the law, or more or less the same. Data Protection Act in UK, in Mauritius, in Ghana, more or less they are the same. And when we found that there is some suspicion for an offense will be going to happen in investigation, we just refer the case to the police, and the DPP, the prosecution, will refer the case to the court. And especially if someone is aggrieved by the decision of the Data Protection Commissioner, they have the right of appeal to the ICTA tribunal. And this appeal can go up to the Supreme Court. We have already reached 2 or 3 appeals, and we have already gone to the Supreme Court, and even we have won the case to the Supreme Court. And when we see all these issues of data protection, especially all the countries are facing the same problem about registration, about it is a new law, it is difficult for all individuals, all data controllers to understand this. So it is a way for us. And most of the data controllers in all regulators, what they do a very large campaign such as sensitization, mass sensitization, and so on. What we see is that ignorance of law is not an excuse. That's why all the regulators will do sensitization. At the same time, the data controllers must do something to register for them and abide by the Data Protection Act. Mauritius Data Protection Office has already done a lot of auditing also. They have got a lot of experience in it. And last year, during the December, we have been ISO certified. That is, we have documented all the processes, and we are now ISO certified 2001-9008, and we have put the quality objective for all investigation exceptional for complicated cases. All investigation should terminate within 1 year. This is our quality objective. And when we send an enforcement notice to data controller to register, failing to which within 1 month, we will just send them for prosecution. And our audit for quality objective, we have put when we are initiating an audit, it should end before 3 months. And it is a must for us to do sensitization, maybe public sensitization, mass sensitization, or any type of sensitization we have got. And this is a challenging work for the data protection of Ghana, just doing such interactive sensitization, and we have seen that there is a lot of response. Even all the questions were well answered, and it is a very, very good effort by the Data Protection Commissioner and the team to organize such a great sensitization campaign where all data controllers and regulators from different corners of the world has come together within the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Marluf. We'll just give a hand to our panelists. We move into the next session, but I would ask our panelists to take their seat. Thank you very much. There's quite a lot of work out there, and it's obvious from Morocco and Mauritius, they are moving on. And I'm sure Ghana is ready to move on too. The next section involves us all. What organizers have done is they've brought together industry experts and players, practitioners, so that we can interact with them. We'll do that under the subject, privacy and data protection challenges, developing new technologies. And for the panelists, we have from Google, Titi Akinsameni. I hope I got the name right. Okay. A hand for everyone. I didn't. Okay, I'll come for the correction. Then from Facebook, the hefty one. Ebele Chukwu Adezi Okobi Harris. Wow. A hand for her, please. Then from Vodafone, Gerhard Mensah. Thank you. A hand for her. We have a rep from GCNet, and that is Isaac Boy. Thank you, Isaac. Then from Microsoft, our very own Heba Ramsey. And then finally from private practice, representing our company, Information Security Architects, we have the young and only. I can say it's Ghana's most searched hacker right now, ethical hacker. His name is Bright Gameli, all the way from South Korea. Thank you. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Panelists have 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes to give us a pitch concerning the subject. Then we're going to open the house for discussions, because that's what this is for. We don't want too much talking from their side. We want to be the ones asking the questions. So we are going to start. Ladies first. Titi.
Okay, so how does this work? Protocol, do I get up? I think so. 2 minutes, and I'm going to spend the first 2 minutes faffing around, just because I can. Good afternoon, everyone. First off, hearty thank you to the Data Protection Commission for doing this. I wear many hats, but I'm actually wearing the hat of the Google policy lead for West Africa. Today, I have in the room my colleagues, Fortune, who flew in all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa, and my other colleague, Ife, who's the head of legal for Google in Sub-Saharan Africa. And the next question I hear is, why do you have so many Googlers in the room? Because we matter, you matter, this actually matters to Google. The fact that a government agency is able to put together the kind of law that enables business to take place. This section is around challenges, and if I speak to it really quickly, in terms of time management, it's this. Data is important. The collection of data is critical to business growth. Where the issue is how this data is used. So the problem is not, the major challenge is not with collection. Collection happens. Let me give an example. How many of you have an Android phone? A Samsung? Let me see your hands, be bold. Wait. Okay, for those of you who don't know, it runs on the Android operating system, which Google makes freely available to a whole range of handset providers. How many of you know, no, you will probably know, when you bought that phone, how many of you were just excited and were just saying, yes, okay. Be honest, my hands are up. Where's my Android? My Android phone is there. You just said, okay. Keke referred earlier to having, read some of these terms and conditions and getting confused. And this is her area of expertise. How many of you have ever read the terms and conditions that's longer than one sentence? How many of you have actually understood the implications of what the terms and conditions were? How many of you actually, the hands are getting, if you can't see the crowd, if the camera can actually show it, the hands are getting fewer. How many of you understand what your recourse is if your data is misused? The next time we have this conference, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more hands up, having understood what it is you can do with the DPC. And we speak in this way as Google because we understand that when there's the right protection, where there is the right set of regulations that do not inhibit innovation, then we can thrive and prosper as a business. And we're looking forward to being able to do that in Sub-Saharan Africa. I'm going to pause here because I know you have a lot more questions.
Thank you, Titi. I believe Facebook. Yeah, you must be short.
So I'm Ezella Okobi, and I work for Facebook, where I head public policy for Africa. I actually think, and I'm not sure if this is part of the agenda, that it actually be very useful. What I tried to do is bring together an overview of what privacy controls look like specifically for Facebook. And the reason I think this is important is before I launched it, I forgot to introduce my colleague, Ekwe Ejechi, who's our manager for public policy Nigeria and is Ghanaian. So she is sort of the point of contact for Ghana. So I'm sorry, raise your hands. And so we're both here because we think privacy is core to our business. If people don't trust, people come to Facebook, 1.59 billion people come to Facebook every month, and they share deeply personal information. If they don't trust us, they don't share. If they don't share, we don't have a platform. As I was trying to say before, I actually think it's important, and I don't know if there's room on the agenda for this, to go through what privacy controls look like. And I think that's important for a number of reasons. For those of you who are startups or who think privacy is something that's really difficult, we've heard a lot of conversations about how difficult it is to read through privacy policies. I think having a look and seeing how Facebook has actually baked privacy controls directly into the product are interesting things for you to think of as you are thinking about and implementing your own privacy policies. The second reason is for those of you who are using Facebook as a tool, I would bet that of the 10 things that I have to show you, most of you are not doing it. And so to the extent that you're people who care about privacy as an issue, I think it would be really important to try and go over those. Again, I don't know if there's room in the agenda for that. That's it.
Hi. Oh, that was music for me? Okay. Everyone is talking about privacy, everyone is talking about data, and I'm thinking, how many data got lost last year alone? Statistics show that about 14 million data records has been breached. It doubled to 64 million in 2014. And guess what? In 2015, it went to 121. That's almost 99%, if you ask me. Now, here's the thing. Hackers. That's what I do for a living. I break into things. I break into organizations. Paid, though, ethical. So someone I can back me up as a senior there. I do it for a living, but the thing is, every day I see data moving and flowing, and I see people's records going left, right, and center, and I'm like, wow, people are not aware. Google is here. Do you know how big this, a single Google line I can find cameras of people's houses? Having dinner using Google, it's not a bad thing. It's legal. It's a legal part of that. Google searches. You can use Google to find CVs and resumes of people because they left it there. Not because Google wants you to find it, but just to show you the security of them. Tomorrow during my session, I'll be showing you practically what happens when you take a selfie at La Palm Beach. Just because of one GPS location, I can tell every single person that has put a picture on Instagram and tag themselves here. And not just that. From that Instagram account, I'll be able to tell your Facebook account, your Twitter account, your LinkedIn, your Gmail account, your Google Plus account, your Snapchat, the SoundCloud, what music you listen to, whatever you watch, any document that has a name ever printed in it that has to be shown on Google will be posted there. Why? Because of one selfie that you take. How much do you care about your privacy? Your data? Do you know how much you're putting out there? No. Anyway, join me tomorrow, we'll show you how it is. And see, you know what? As we hear, this pen that I was holding, I was recording everything. But none of you noticed. It's actually a recorder. What happens? And thank you for talking about cybersecurity, but let's talk about information security also to sum it up. How do you know that if you leave your computer unlocked, I can do everything? I have a flash disk that I'll show tomorrow during my session, that when I plug it in less than 20 seconds, it will give a connection back to my laptop back at home and give me access to everything silently. Because it's a flash disk that it looks like, but in that flash disk, it acts as a human interface device, like a mouse or keyboard. And guess what? It's undetectable. No virus can detect that. And we show a few mobile phone hacks. People send you applications, download the battery app, download the flashlight app. Why would the flashlight app be 2 MB? It just does one function on and off. But it's 2 megabytes. That should tell you something. It's collecting data behind the back. So I might demonstrate that tomorrow. When you send an app to a person, we can access the camera of the person. We'll access all the records, phone calls, messages, a live demonstration, by the way, not PowerPoint. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Gay Hartman, Director of External Affairs for Vodafone Ghana. Privacy, data protection, challenges. I think when we leave here, one thing that will be very clear to us is the fact that data protection is very critical in the age in which we find ourselves. At least for us organizations that are classified as data controllers, it provides us with the guidelines within which we're supposed to work. It helps us to come up with frameworks that help us to carry out our operations. And it also gives you, our data subjects, the assurance that you need that your data is being managed responsibly. But as we make progress, we also need to look at some of the challenges that come about as a result of trying to protect your privacy. And I think the key thing is striking a balance between protection and also enabling growth. I say this in the context of what we call today the big data debate, where data is being used for all kinds of development, for purposes of socioeconomic development, for planning, for implementation of projects. In that context, it becomes very, very important that we try to look at how we're going to protect your privacy in the same way, ensure that we are able to enable growth and development. And Vodafone is glad to be part of this discussion, and we can share some experience with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jahad. Welcome back.
So I'll build on the positive notion and the opportunities, okay? And, how can we use the data and privacy to increase the trade and FDIs?
So I want us to take a positive spin here. Today, as we are sitting here, a lot of negotiations are happening in Brussels. You know, like between the US and the EU, the safe harbor, and you know, like the discussion is being dominated there, which is great. Very, very good. But we found ourselves not being part of that in this part of the world. We find ourselves always trying to catch up. We find ourselves, let us mimic, for good reasons, what, you know, like the UK, the EU laws are calling for, and I use the word adequacy, because we want more FDIs. And we look at, we are struggling between the two camps. The EU camp, which is, we have the individual as the centric of all the laws to protect them, and the US, which is more of a market dynamic. Okay? And these are the two camps. And there are a lot of, you know, like guiding principles that, you know, like have been developed by the OECD, the EU, and so on and so forth. But the most important thing is that we have to say that there is no one size fits all. And we have to look at the positive aspect of what privacy can bring to us in terms of, you know, like trade, in terms of using the big data and the data analytics to address the fundamental issues that we are having. In order to leapfrog, and I know that this has been used and abused word since the 90s, and then it disappeared, I want to bring it back, because today we can really be ahead of the curve. And we need to look into how to build frameworks and how to enhance our current laws and regulations around privacy and data protection in order also to encourage trade and encourage, you know, the use of data to address fundamental issues, whether it's around education, you know, around agriculture, around the fishery industry. How can we use the data to advance that and address some of the key challenges that we are facing? Thus, we be not playing a catch-up, but we be part of the dialogue around innovation. We need more young people and, you know, more older people as well to be, you know, like to put together these innovation ideas. You know, the M-Pesa, you know, like and the M-Kopa in Kenya and more and many more. It doesn't have to start and end in the mature market. It has to start here. So I give you that thought.
Thank you, Heather. That was a long one. All right, Isaac, G-Cement. Make it brief.
Thank you for trying. Well, thank you, the director, for organizing this program. I just want to say I'm not here alone. I'm here with, we have a security advisory group. We are strongly represented here. We have which actually means that security is not just one person within this, because we actually develop and support governments with these solutions. And as you may be aware, we have a number of solutions such as like X, which is an internet service for clients, which they use to electronically process their clearance, and EMDA, and then we have DCMS, customs, and TRIPS for tax clearance, that's filing, and we have e-registrar for registering your businesses as well. Now, business has invested heavily in this area, not only just infrastructure, but security as well, just to ensure that the firewalls that we are interfacing from every endpoint are actually secured. And we kind of use this with guiding policies to ensure that every user within the business and our stakeholders are aware of it, and to guide and monitor closely. If I'm to talk about challenges, I would say that the main challenge, if I'm to put, is the end user. That's why it's good we're having this awareness program that's happening, and we shouldn't just end it there. We need to drum it within our organizations, within our third parties that we work with, and I must say it needs to be a continuous process. There's one other dependency, as one of our speakers mentioned, that we depend Basically, PC is about software, hardware, and then the user that goes in there. The dependencies that I see and from events or scripting news I've been reading over time really comes to the fact that softwares can be developed internally and can be developed externally. Now, the end user is just, or he or she is just using it. But what controls will you put in place to ensure that the changes that will eventually hit your internal processes are adequately controlled and you don't have any malicious activity behind them? And I like what my brother also said, that, I mean, he has those things running and nobody's aware. But within the business, something that will come and run and process critical stuff. Within the lines of codes, what aspects are we put in place, like programmers or change managers, that will go through the full complete cycle, that before it commissioned into life, we can put our head on our chest that there are no malicious activities behind. So these are some of the things we can be thinking around with, that challenges that we need to really, as a team, and make sure we implement segregation of controls or duties. Those are things, and it is a big thing. And I'm sure as the discussion progresses, we will be able to come up with solutions and deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Okay, so we have ensured that means we are moving into the question and answer here. But you can tell there is diverse knowledge here: regulatory, big data, information governance, cybersecurity, hacking, social media, everything is here. So the challenges that face you specifically, let's have it. Michael, you take over.
I have a first question here. Tell us your name and 30 seconds to ask a question.
My name is Joseph Jogi, I'm an IT consultant. I've got two questions. Today, software from GCA. What do you do to stay agile in the software development industry? You have to respond to change quickly. What sort of framework do you use? And then my second question is, can anybody explain how you sort out data relation? Give us an example, because I speak to IT people and some still believe basic delete and formatting works. So what sort of solution do you use for your complete data wipe?
Thank you. I will enforce 30 seconds for questions, whether they're 5 or 2 or 1, just 30 seconds. We'll take 3 questions at a time and then we'll come back to the panel.
Thank you, Chair. My question is directed to the activist or hacktivist gentleman. I heard all of these marvelous things that you're saying, but as you're speaking, I also had a feeling that you're scaring people. You know? No, it's true. That's the feeling, because I wanna understand what is the point of all that. What is the point that because I took a selfie by the beach, you can know my date of birth and all of that stuff? Because I think the flip side of privacy is also about trust. I also need to trust that if I put up my data, let's say on Facebook, if it's a beach on the selfie, I'm fine with it. People can go ahead and see it, whoever wants to see it. So what's the point of all of that?
Okay, so that was 48 seconds. All right, third question for this round is this gentleman in blue. Gentleman in second. Starts now.
My name is Elias, so I'm from ET1. My question goes to Tech. I think your presentation, you emphasized protection of personal data, that's individual data. The Data Protection Act also emphasizes on the protection of personal data. But other researchers also think that groups also have privacy and their data must be protected. I want to find out from you whether group privacy is also protected under the Act. That's my question to take. My second question goes to
Your time's up. Sorry. Okay, let's take the answers, please.
Okay. Concerning the data how this response, well, we actually have adopted ISO 9001, which is more about parity. And we actually engage our stakeholders, talking to them, taking their feedbacks and all that, and moving their needs. So we also have stakeholder engagements that we run year round. And then once we know their needs, we try to customize the services that we have to really ensure that they're satisfied. That's what we do. Now, once there is defined, then it goes through a process where we have a system development, it goes through the system development life cycle till it's tested and cleared before they are deployed with the set as well.
Let's talk about hacking now.
Well, my point was not to scare anyone. What's it, Google? Oh, he's got the back there. Anyway, the whole point of actually what we do, or what I'm trying to show is that you put up information there and you're scared, or later you're like, where's the information here? Where's the picture here? I have seen people who take pictures and post online and then later they found on magazines and they did not request that to happen, you know? They did not pay for it. So the reason why I wanted to show some of those vulnerabilities is what hackers use to hack you. For example, a house, you know, you work for, let's say, GCNet, and if I want to find out things about GCNet, I'm trying to put the GPS location. I need information about people around there. I need information about them. The more information I collect, the easier the hack. That's all about it. Because if I find that what she talked about phishing is send them a link, you click on it, and that's it. They don't even have to do anything on the website. So the thing is, the information that I'm trying to show is show you that the amount of information a hacker can get if you keep posting so much online. And so you need to be careful. Should you take a picture at the beach and tell yourself that you are at the beach? Do we have to really know you are at the beach? So geotagging is something which you don't have to do all the time. It's a choice. So if you're trying to protect data, why do you have to put that much information out there? For example, the IT manager of a company is the easiest target, or the CEO. But now that you have a lot of information about him, you know what to target. You know what book he reads, you know where he goes, you know what he likes to read. And that's it. Let me give a very short, really short example. We wanted to hack somebody, and we knew the company password for the Wi-Fi was difficult and everything. We targeted the IT manager. We know he goes to a particular bar to drink. We know from his Facebook that he likes tall, light-skinned girls. So we took 2 of them and 1 short. And when he got there, spilled a drink on him, and I knew his favorite drink was Johnny Walker. So what did I do? I spilled a drink and I'm like, sorry, but he cannot be angry at me because he sees 2 light girls and he knows I'm not with none of them. So we bought him a whole bottle of Johnny Walker. He was drunk and I asked him, what antivirus they use for a company? He told me Kaspersky. Boom, that was it. Created a virus that bypasses Kaspersky, and that was it. He opened it as a resume. I want to apply for a job at this company. That was a PDF document, it wasn't. That's the thing. Information that you put out there. Do you really want it to be seen? Thank you.
Do any of the other panelists have anything to add to that question? Okay, we've Heather put her hand up.
So there is a fine line, and I understand that technology advances really fast, so do the hackers. Okay? And there has to be some guiding principles in order to enforce industry players to use the right safeguards. This is critical. I mean, it's not 1 layer, it's 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers, and 4 layers in order to make sure that your data is being protected. But it doesn't mean that we have to sit home, not to use the technology, not to be on the internet. We can choose to do that. We'll go back to the 70s, and that's fine, no problem whatsoever. But I don't think the answer to that is to be, closed. The answer to that is to put the right safeguards by the companies as a responsibility. And I'm sorry, this GM or company manager who gave you all the, the information is an irresponsible company. I mean, so because of 1 mistake or 2 mistakes or an irresponsible person, we shouldn't shy away from using the technology. It is there, and we have to be smart about using it. We have to have the right safeguards in place. there is a responsibility on the individual, there is a responsibility on the companies, and there is a responsibility on the governments to enforce, as well as to have the right enabling legal environment to protect people and information, but not to be complex and be closed.
Okay, so Facebook and Google here going, I'll let you go, which is good. I think personally I wanted to be able to address a whole range of things. From the hacktivist level, I mentioned earlier that I wear many hats. Someone who made a very particular choice not to be an irresponsible hacker early in my career. And I say that very clearly. Because as Heba referred to, the responsibility for your data or your privacy lies not with Google, Facebook, the hacktivist, Vodafone, GCNet, or Microsoft. It lies with you as an individual. It is only as much information as you give out, knowingly or unknowingly, that is going to be out in the domain. That's the first thing. So responsibility primarily lies with the individual, which means that with the advancements in technology, we should not just be adopting for the sake of, oh, this is the latest. There's somebody here from iPhone, right? So I can use this as an example. The latest iPhone, I'm going to use the latest iPhone, okay. But do you know what the capacity is? Do you know what it's able to do? Do you know how much access it has into your life, whether it's on or off? Okay? On the second level is this. The fact that the organizations or the businesses that are making use of this information and collecting it have to have a high level of responsibility in the way they then manage, collect, and store that data when you give it to them. So we're not talking about people who are going around with secret recording equipment. Okay? But there is also then a place for data security, which we're talking about. So there's data privacy, there's protection, there's security, there's the aspect where legally government has to be able to access information. But that is not done through weakening the security that's in place of these technologies, what people call backdoor. And I'm happy to put this on the table. Around Snowden, there was a whole bunch of hullabaloo, the Google, Microsoft, Facebook. Anybody, am I missing anyone? Yahoo. There was a lot of cooperation with government. Actually, no. They just had some really brilliant minds, hacktivists. I'm not saying you were part of them, but you never can tell. Who sit with these technologies and look for the vulnerabilities. So because technology will always develop a lot faster than policy and regulation, what businesses are doing, and I can mention this particularly for Google, what we do, I don't know how many people know this, is we actually pay for people to play around with our system and find the vulnerabilities for us before the bad people. So we pay positive hacktivists. We give them opportunities to develop their skills, to help us find any vulnerabilities. The more vulnerabilities you find, the better you get at what you do. But you also help us in treating our users' data better. Because we as Google, and I believe this of every other organization sitting here, know that if we misuse our consumers' data, we are out of business. And the truth is we're in business to continue to make money for a long time to come. But we are all learning together. So the solution is not for everybody to go back into the cave era. Sorry, you'll be left behind. Neither is the solution to then have very top-down regulation that begins to stifle innovation. No. The biggest solution is education for everyone, every stakeholder. And two, for each stakeholder to then take responsibility for their aspect. And then we work together in unison, not against each other.
We'll take your question to Teki, but just for future, if we can appoint the questions to those on the panel, that will help with the allocation of time. Thank you.
I didn't forget the question. Yes, I think there was a question for me about group identity. Our mandate is personal data. So if you're talking about a group as in maybe a group that has a particular name and is not a human being, it would be very difficult to extend data protection laws to cover that. But within the group, if there are human beings who can be identified, then of course we will isolate those human beings and then treat their data as accountable under the law.
Thank you. The next question, please. There's one at the very back there. If you could keep the question brief, please. We have 5 minutes, and I think we have about 2-3 people that want to ask questions. Thank you. Sorry, but we can't hear.
Thank you. So my question is this. For everybody here, those within Ghana and those outside, tell me, what is the incentive for you to ensure privacy? I've heard things like, for us, our users, without this, we're out of business. In many places, it's regulation. So it's a thing between privacy and security. We need security to ensure privacy. What's your incentive? Is it your users? Is it regulation? If you were to give 2 things in order of magnitude, which comes first and comes second?
Okay, we have a working microphone now. Sorry, you're not in this round. Mr. D'Souza, I'll come to you in a minute.
Yeah, Papa, once again, my question goes to with permission. Why do I have to provide full personal data for a device I have bought and let me add pay for and I just want to use? If I don't provide that data, I can't use a tablet or phone or Play Store. And when I provide that information, so what?
Very legitimate concern. Hello.
Yeah. My question to Mr. Governor. I've been here and there online. How do I clear my footprints?
Okay, so if we...
All right, let's be a little generous. We'll take 2 more questions and we'll take a long round of answers. And so I'll come to you, then I think there's one at the back.
Yeah. My question is not, the question is not about security, but property of the data. To Google. Hello? Is it true that when I use Gmail and I write person here, in fact, I write to Google, and Google is just giving a copy to the person, meaning that all I write using Gmail is the property of Google. Thank you.
So if we take the first, he said, what he essentially said, if I'm not mistaken, is that by sending an email to his friend X, he in fact sends it to Google, and his assertion is that Google is a fact data controller. So we'll address that when we come to that. So the first question was about incentives. What incentives are there to drive privacy? And Facebook's put their hand up.
Yeah, so I mean, I said this when I started, and it's absolutely true. If people don't trust Facebook, I mean, people come to share on Facebook the most intimate details of their lives. The minute people think that Facebook is misusing their information, the minute people think Facebook is selling their information, which by the way, that is not what Facebook does, they won't share. We would not have 1.59 billion people using the platform if they didn't trust that we were holding, that we took their privacy incredibly seriously. So for us, that actually is the top line, that is the most important, that is the most important reason that we take data protection very seriously. I mean, I know people talk about regulation, but remember that a lot of the things that Facebook is doing, a lot of the Google's doing, are ahead of what regulation is, because we've recognized some of the issues way before regulators are because we sit with the technology and we sit with the data.
You asked a question about how to delete all the information on the internet.
Yeah, thank you very much. For Vodafone, we have millions of people roaming on our network. And they do so because they have an assurance. The assurance they have is that they can pick their phone, call somebody and tell the person, I love you, and nobody listens to them. So we need to protect that privacy, and we also need to protect whatever data they share with us on our network. And so the motivation for us is that one of our unique selling points as an organization, as a business model, is that we sell privacy. That is our motivation.
I think it has been said. It's all about trust. And honestly speaking, in a couple of years, if not earlier, the whole consent will be irrelevant. And I'll tell you why. Today we're saying we've got about 3 billion devices. Tomorrow, just not far off, you will have 50 billion devices collecting data. So it will be hard to get consent. I think the two things that are very important, that where trust is critical, is the empowerment of the data subject, that you trust the service provider. And the second thing is that we put the right restriction by the regulations on what to collect and what not to protect you, without impacting the technology advancement, the data flows, in order to ensure that there is a trade and FDIs moving on and off. The last point, and I know that I'm taking a little bit more time, and apologies, but the last one, most of the people in Africa, they believe that the biggest FDI comes from Europe. The research tells us it comes from the US. So while, like the adequacy to only the EU, that would not be maybe the best thing, but we can talk about it and debate it. Thank you.
About what you said about 50 billion devices coming out and privacy going to be an issue. I think the privacy community is taking care of that. There is an application called Privacy HQ or NQ, Privacy NQ. What it is you sign on to that and you can go whether it's auto IoT or whatever it is, and you click on it and you can select, you the subject, you can select what you want and what you don't want. And it goes to the manufacturer and you have to abide by it. So they're already doing it. I just want to share with everybody.
Yeah, and that's about the environment. The consent will be the person.
So we'll move to the next question, which I believe was from this gentleman.
Yeah, we'll come to, I think Gamale has a question. How do you delete your footprint off the internet?
Yeah, about the footprint, you almost cannot delete everything on the internet. Everything that you post out there is made a copy. Let me tell you, for example, Instagram. I can show you that later practically. When you post a picture on Instagram, it goes to about 500 different websites that look like Instagram. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it goes there. There's something Google. Well, I'll show you later. Okay, all right. Anyway, I see it all the time, is what I'm saying. And Google has something called Google Docs. It's DORKS. If you Google that, it shows the queries that you can use to find information specific to what you're looking for. I use that a lot to find out information about myself. And the other day I realized that people that I published to IEEE was being published by someone else, like 3 other people, and I did not submit to them. So about Google Docs, I can share with you a few queries that you can use. It's a very nice single line you can put to find out more details about yourself. The question was about why you give out information to do. I think it's just to help you to make your life easier. I buy an Android device and I have to put my Google details. And in that case, it retains my applications, right? So even if I lose the phone, I can get them back. So I think trying to give it, we trust Google to actually keep that data safe, like you said. And because of that, when my phone gets lost, or I can always get the details back. And yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Hello, so please permit me, I am going to get up again. This is one of my favorite phrases. You see, the internet, if you ever thought differently, the internet doesn't have religion. It is not a Christian. Particularly, it's not a born-again Christian. If you didn't understand it today. The internet doesn't forgive and forget. If you put it there, there's no right to be forgotten. The more you try to be forgotten, the more you will be remembered. Am I speaking truth? Yeah. I'm speaking as an end user. Yeah. The more you try to bury something, the more it will emerge and it will haunt you. That